it'll drive yourself insane. You got to figure out where you can start.
To follow up on that, a couple of things. We are talking about an example in San Jose Apartado, right? Now, that happened because people actually worked with their specific conditions to find ways of responding to those specific conditions. If we were to look at Appalachia, then people in Appalachia will need to actually consider and face their own situation, which is quite different, but have some things in common with that. And then the gangs in Chicago. So actually one of the things that we learned from this is, number one, this can happen. Peace communities can happen. Number two, we do not know what are the specifics, because they depend not on what they did, but on what is the reality here. So if in the case of San Jose Apartado, we say, but how about the United States? We say, oh, interesting. Well, let us now shift the focus, and that will be another presentation, into what is the situation of the United States and what are the situations of violence here. I am studying Colombia, right? So these are the connections here, and the United States has this participation there. Things need to be done in Colombia, things need to be done in the United States, and things can be done in the United States, and that could make a difference. One of those, just to give you examples, what is the power of people here at the grassroots level? One of the fundamental forms of power here is consumption, is what you buy. So one of the ways actually to respond to this is choosing what to buy and what not to buy. Very concretely, do not ever drink Coca-Cola, for example. Coca-Cola has a devastating record of human rights abuses. Do not consume Coca-Cola. Do not consume Chiquita banana. Chiquita banana has a terrible record of human rights abuses as well. Well, there are many other things that can be done, but not only in terms of organizing on behalf of Colombia, but organizing on behalf of the impoverished neighborhoods in Denver, the impoverished neighborhoods in Boulder. I think that one of the lessons of San Jose Apartado is the one that says, who are we? And what are our conditions? And what kind of interdependence do we have with other people? What is it made of, right? But before we continue, I want to say, love the questions. This is what I think is the goal of doing this exchange. If you feel that you need to leave, do not feel bad about it, because we understand people have different things to do. And let's continue. And in the conversation, we are wrapping up, because actually we are wrapping up in the sense that I have presented to you the characteristics of the community and what are the challenges of it, and we are actually making and drawing the connections. So there were a few hands raised before, Hillary, and yes, Rachel, yes, and then Martin. Okay, Hillary.
Oh, really quick, the first thing that I was going to say before was just, it was funny that Mirna brought it up, but I thought to myself, like, I wonder if sometimes some of the youth who are in the paramilitary or the guerrillas ever, like, you know, have that feeling about how nice it would be to be, you know, in the peace community. You know, like, there has to be a part of them sometimes, and I don't know how long they can allow themselves to feel that, because it would really mess you up to feel that for too long. But I mean, so it's funny that I had that feeling also, and so it was interesting that kind of came up in the room, because I thought, you know, the sadness of that. And then I think, like, in terms of, you know, your question, I mean, on the one hand, we can say, from coming to the presentation the other day and hearing the stories and coming today, I mean, I really feel like these particular people, how you said, like, it really comes back to our own unique situation in this moment as we're creating it, because I really feel like they are doing, like, everything they can do. It sounds like they're putting every fiber in their being of responding in the best way they know how to that particular situation. And we don't know what kind of effect that will have on the restructuring, you know, of like the issues, because it seems like right now, like, it's not even a question if there was, like, the pattern of interaction of the guerrillas and the paramilitary. It's just like we see in other ways, like, we can sit down and talk, but the pattern of interaction, like the reality that's being created, blocks whatever kind of, it goes beyond just like our issues. And so we never know when something like this blooms up, because it's blooming up like from these depths, you know, that are beyond kind of the situation, like these very depths of humanity. We don't know how that will trickle out and how like that comes here, and then we say, like, in this moment, what can I do? And so, like, just like the cycle of violence is so vast, it's just like we can't always, with our rational mind, I feel like I can't see how this will manifest, and it might be like many lifetimes. But, you know, it's sort of like in that moment, it's like they're just really doing everything that they can do.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that actually the outcomes of these are at one level. I would be lying if I tell you what the outcomes are.
Yeah.
That would be actually Michael Nagler, who is a nonviolent theorist, a very important nonviolent theorist, says this, which I think is very interesting. He says the outcomes of violence are rarely obvious. But the outcomes of nonviolence take a long time to be seen. Now, the outcomes of violence also take a long time. But what he's trying to say is that some of the outcomes of nonviolence are way more subtle because they are working with other forms of relationship that we are not as familiar with. I know that San Jose Apartado has already had very important implications and in Colombia. I mean, let me put it this, Uribe attacks them. You know what it takes for a president to attack a group of peasants without weapons? The fact that he actually finds the time to attack people, you know, it's like, what, I mean, that would be fun if I, you know, like I attacked my neighbors every time I go to class, you know, that is, wow, those neighbors are really making some, you know, impact on my life if I actually have to deal with them so publicly. So Uribe has attacked them, and it's really amazing that the president of Colombia attacks the community. Colombia gets billions in dollars to get to a war. There are guerrillas against them, paramilitaries against them, and the army, and they are still there. If that is not a statement of the power of this, I cannot imagine what it is. Guns everywhere, and you're still there. And actually, some of your leaders die, and others actually come back with more strength after that. One of the things that Renato said, that was actually after a long conversation, and he knew how dangerous was to say this, but he said, actually, the best thing, he said, you know, thinking about this, the best thing that the army could do to us will be to kill one more person, to kill more people, because the more they kill us, the stronger we become. And of course, he will not like to publicize this. But his point is that actually killing is not an effective way of getting rid of the community. It really is not. The same way that it was not in India. It wasn't. It did not make sense because you were dealing with people who were thinking of reality in a different way. And you could not actually destroy it that way. But another thing, Hillary, and what you're saying, I imagine that some of the youth, the paramilitary and army youth may see with envy, and actually that will explain part of the ongoing insults to a community. I can see that. I can see what you were saying. It's a shadow in a way. And here's one requisite of the community. You cannot have any connection to the army or the paramilitaries to become a member of the community. They absolutely not going to accept you. So there will be a tremendous sadness in that. I can see that, and hatred as well. Oh, you think you're so special. You don't allow people with a record in your midst. And of course they could not allow people on the record because if they did, then they will destroy the very basis of the community. Now, is the community in San Jose Apartado the response or the solution to all problems of violence in Colombia or in the region? They are not. They are an example of what people are doing in this region and what should be happening everywhere else. And that requires something that's quite hard, I think, for us sometimes. It requires a complete commitment to community.